Hello and welcome to the final Christmas special for the year. This is Crushon.ai. Yeah, think what you want about me or what I do. This is a completely wholesome story that I have crafted about Christmas and about saving Christmas that has nothing to do with any of the normal stuff you might think about when you think of these kinds of sites. We're going to enjoy a lovely adventure. Last year, we went to listen to the story of Lasagna Man on AI Dungeon. Was that last year? I think I did that. Yeah, who defeated recent political characters because everybody was still pretty sore about that situation, and things still are. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Christmas. So I'm just gonna read this, and then we're gonna play. My plan is to keep my responses fairly light and short to save. I'm not gonna write a story here. I'm not gonna write a whole book here. I'm gonna write a story. Just a quick, I'm gonna play the character and not describe what happens. I'm gonna let the AI describe what happens. When I play this sometimes myself and write stories in here, I use my long stuff and write the whole story out myself. I use the AI as a way to enhance what I'm doing. I use Crushon because the AI models on here are great. I have never really tried Character.ai. I don't know what people think about that one or any of the other ones out there. I used AI Dungeon for years, and I feel like the AI models on there got terrible, and maybe they've improved, but this has some great AI models, and I pay for it, so I've got some of the high-powered models. So we're using Ultrasonic 4.5, which is very high-end and should produce a really good story with a lot of detailed background based on the stuff I fed it. I created this bot. I do plan on making it public. It's just a little wholesome Christmas story. It's not like an actual character you can talk to. It's just a story that you can enter in a world you can interact with. It's also what they call a target play, where you have an objective. The objective is to save Christmas over 50 rounds. So we will see if we are able to save Christmas and complete the story. So, it was the night before Christmas. You've probably heard a lot of stories that started out this way, but this one takes place in a magical town where Christmas is the most important day of the year. Everyone that lives in Christmastown, Colorado, cares the most about Christmas and the magic that it brings to the world for another year. Now, I didn't have to set this in like an actual area, but I wanted to. Christmastown obviously isn't a real place, but they even hold a big festival over the month of December to help get ready for the holiday. And on December 25th, after a long night of delivering presents around the world, Santa Claus himself comes to town for a party with some of his favorite people. I'm going to edit this a little bit. I can already see my phone makes errors when I type stuff on my phone, and I fat finger keys. For Christmastown, may be just an average modern mountain town with hotels, stores, restaurants, an airport, and other amenities for many tourists that gets year-round thanks to the near-constant snow cover and obvious theme of the town. But it is also home to magic and the magical Christmas folk who only exist in stories about the holiday. Everyone who lives in Christmastown loves the holiday and does their best to make this festival the very best part of their year. Not just for themselves, but for their friends and neighbors. And today is Christmas Eve. Didn't the story start out that way or something? After all the preparation and fun of the preparation and fun of the season, it's time for the big night where Santa will be delivering his gifts, and everyone in town will be waiting for anticipation for that magical morning when they get to celebrate their favorite day of the year. But outside of the town, there's a huge old mountain, and tonight a strong and terrible wind started blowing from that mountain, bringing with it colder than normal temperatures and heavy snow. Now the children are worried that Santa might not be able to make it. The airport won't be able to bring in family and friends visiting for the festival, and worst of all, the whole Christmas celebration might have to be canceled. But Holly happens to be in Christmastown this year, and it might be time somebody did something to save the holiday. So we are Holly, ourself, a character. So Holly, I'm gonna write a little thing for the beginning, just to set the scene here. Sat in the biggest in the main room of the Christmastown Inn, a popular hotel in the style of an old-time inn, complete with a large common room where folks gather for drinks, meals, just general good cheer. She looked out the window as the wind began to whip against the shutters of the old building. Her friends were in town for the Christmas festival. Now, she was worried that no one might be able to celebrate if the weather got any worse. Holly was just enjoying a warm meal and listening to the discussion of other patrons in the inn. I think that's a good place to start, and then we'll just see what the AI comes up with. So this is just a little taste. Let's see what we get. I use the italics. I should have done the intro in italics too. So let's see what kind of characters. Well, we're already off to a great start. The warmth of the fireplace crackles in the common room, casting dancing shadows across the wooden walls, decorated garlands and twinkling lights. Holly's meal seems invitingly before her, and some kind of hurries through the smells of herbs and some winter vegetables. A small figure plops down a chair across from her table without asking. It's an elf, not the tall token kind, but a proper Christmas elf with pointy ears, nosy cheeks, and a green outfit complete with curled-toed shoes. Warning: this character cannot engage in NSFW content. So this is garbage when it does this, because this is wasting. I have a limited number of actual credits, and it's also wasting my rounds to save Christmas. I am going to try to regenerate this, and if it doesn't regenerate anything, I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands and make it do something. I'm wasting my hard-earned credits for you to have entertainment. Here we go. This is much better. Yes, this is much better. This is what we wanted. Okay, it didn't try to do something NSFW and then, like, make itself... Because this is a filtered version. This site is used for NSFW a lot by people, but this is a nice, clean story that has none of that. And I told it not to be able to do that. So no one who listens to this has to worry about doing 10. The warmth of the fireplace crackled pleasantly in the common room, but the cheerful atmosphere was beginning to fade as patrons glanced nervously toward the frost-covered windows. The wind howled louder, rattling the old wooden shutters. A rotund man with rosy cheeks and a thick mustache sat down heavily at the table next to Holly's. He wore a green sweater, covered in jingling bells that looked genuinely distressed. "This isn't normal winter weather," he muttered to his companion, a woman in a red knit cap. "I've lived in Christmastown for 30 years, and I've never seen a storm brewing this fast. It came straight down from old Frost Peak Mountain." The woman nodded, wringing her hands. "My niece was supposed to fly in tonight for the festival. Now the airport's closed. And what about Santa? How is he supposed to land his sleigh in this?" Behind the bar, the innkeeper. This should have just been Stardew Valley. That would have been clever, right? But I'm picturing Gus from Stardew Valley here. A jolly fellow named Gus, who always wore suspenders, was polishing glasses, but listening intently. He caught Holly's eye and gave her a meaningful look, as if sensing she might be the type to do something about this mess. From upstairs came the sound of footsteps, and Lomlon appeared on the landing, her pink hair slightly disheveled. "Holly, have you seen this weather? My familiar won't even go outside to do his business." So, Holly was indeed the type to do something, but not sit around when there was a real Christmas emergency. Like the rotund man who spoke earlier, she had lived in Christmastown her whole life and didn't want to see people unhappy on the most important night of the year. She stood up and walked over to Lomlon. Smiling, she told her best friend, "Don't worry. I'll go up on Frost Peak Mountain. I don't know how well my tracking is going to work to determine if we actually get points or not. Like, I didn't plan this very well. I made this pretty quickly, so we'll see what happens. And find the source of whatever is causing this storm so we can all have a happy Christmas. So everyone can have a happy Christmas. I'm gonna be a pretty generic character. There we go. I didn't read that out loud. She turned and smiled at the general crowd in the animal, trying to think about how she might even manage to do something like that. Oh, is Lomlon gonna come with me? Is that all my... I wrote a bunch of my friends into this. I'm actually curious if this'll... It's probably gonna work them all in one at a time, right? Oh, hey, I did get points for that. Cool. Lomlon's eyes widened with a mixture of concern and excitement. She bounced down the stairs, her pink hair switching. You can't go alone. That mountain is huge and the storm's getting worse by the minute. She grabbed Holly's arm. Besides, I know some weather manipulation spells. They're not strong enough to stop a blizzard. Maybe they could help us get through it. Gus set down his glass with a decisive clink. If you girls are serious about this, you'll need proper gear. I've got some old climbing equipment in the storage room from back when I used to be a guide tourist up Frost Peak. The man in the bell-covered sweater stood abruptly. Wait, if something's wrong on the mountain, it might be magical. There's old stories about Frost Peak and a winter spirit that lives up there. My grandmother used to tell them. He scratched his mustache thoughtfully. She said the spirit was friendly once, but lonely. Maybe something's upset it. The door of the inn suddenly burst open, letting in a swirl of snow and a figure bundled in a large heavy coat. When they pulled back their hood, it revealed Sorrow. Her long brown hair dusted with snowflakes, her expression worried. Holly, I was looking for you. The Christmas carolers can't even perform tonight because of this wind. Holly had been the marshal of the Christmastown festival this year and had been working with some of her friends to get things just perfect. So that news was disappointing. Oh no, that's terrible. she replied, but then crossed the room, pat Sorrow's arm. Lomlon and I are going up on the mountain to see what we can do to help. Do you have any advice, since there was that one time you climbed Celeste Mountain? Oh! Lomlon, meanwhile, was gathering up the climbing gear that Gus had provided, but Holly wasn't so sure that they should go on foot the entire way. After all, okay, I am writing more of a story than I thought I was going to write. Was a big mountain and a little way from the town. Okay. Sarah's eyes lit up slightly after being asked for advice, though worry still creased her brow. Celeste was different. Sunny and warm, but I learned that mountains have their own moods. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think Celeste is very sunny and warm, if you know anything about what I'm referencing here, but she pulled off her gloves, flexing her cold fingers. Don't push through exhaustion, and always watch for signs the mountain is trying to tell you something. Avalanche markers, sudden temperature drops, animal behavior. The rotund man in Bell spoke up again. You'll need transportation at least part way. The old ski lodge at Mid-Mountain has snowmobiles. My brother runs it. I'll call ahead so he knows you're coming. Not what I was thinking. Not what I was thinking, though. I've got a plan in mind for how we get partway up the mountain. You'll see. It's introducing my pals one at a time, though. That's what it's doing here. Lomlon was examining the climbing gear with a skeptical expression, holding up an ice axe that might bite her. It might bite her. How exactly does one use this? I'm more accustomed to broomsticks than pointy metal things. So I put that she was a witch, so this is why it's doing this stuff. The inn door opened again, this time admitting a figure in distinctive Combine-style armor, snow clinging to the angular plate. Slabs 4 stomped his boots on the mat. Heard there's a problem that needs solving. His voice that had characteristic filtered quality through the helmet. And I'm guessing you're planning something reckless, Holly. Count me in. I've got thermal imaging in this helmet that might... Actually, it's more like this, isn't it? Count me in. I've got thermal imaging in this helmet that might count for helping a whiteout. So am I just going to get 2 points every round until I get to 50? Is that what's going to happen? Or are we going to actually get more points when we, save Christmas? I don't know. Holly was glad to see her friends. Most of them, so eager to help. Most of them had come in just for the festival to help out and to celebrate with her. We would be glad for your help, she told Slabs 4. Shout out to my pal Slabs 4. And then she looked to the rotund man. I appreciate the offer, but I have another idea on how we can get up the mountain. Something a little more powerful than snowmobiles. And with that, Holly produced her smartphone and scrolled through her contacts until she found the number for her her sister in spirit. For a woman who owned a lot of powerful vehicles. Hey, Slashina, sis. We need to drive up Frost Peak Mountain tonight and find out what's causing this storm. You think you can get over here and give us a lift? She asked when the recipient picked up, and I spelled recipient wrong because of course I did. I think it's just that, right? There was a moment of silence on the other end, then Celestina's confident voice came through, tinged with amusement. A mountain rescue on Christmas Eve? Now that's more interesting than the party I'm at. The sound of music and chatter faded as she apparently stepped away. I've got the perfect ride for this. My custom Kenworth with the snow tracks I installed last winter. Never get to properly test those bad boys. Give me 40 minutes, I'll be at the inn. The line clicked off. Gus whistled low. The Empress of Heaven and Hell herself is coming to Christmastown? Well, that's certainly something. Lomlon was now attempting to strap the climbing gear into a more manageable bundle. Her familiar, a large orange tabby, weaving between her legs and meowing irritably about the weather. At least we'll travel in style, though I should probably pack some emergency potions. Anti-frostbite elixir, warming draught, maybe something for altitude sickness. Outside, the wind shrieked even louder, and several patrons gasped as the lights flickered momentarily. Sarah moved closer to the window, her breath fogging the glass. Whatever's up there is getting angrier. Look, the snow isn't even falling normally anymore. It's swirling in patterns. Hey, that was an actual thing I did to try to save Christmas. This might be a long one. We're already 20 minutes in. This is all I've gotten so far. But I love the way it's actually playing these characters. This is dedicated to my pals, who are probably the main people watching these videos. Holly clicked off the phone after her call and looked. So we could have a voice that would tell us, read this for us, but I figured this is probably better not. I wonder if it would take longer if I did that. No, I want to give the characters the voices they deserve, or as well as I can do them. Oh, sorry, I started typing and just stopped. Holly clicked off the phone after her call and looked around at her friends and the assembled patrons. Don't worry about us. We're going to solve this Christmas problem. And be back in time to see Santa. She looked at Lomlon and offered to help carry some gear, stepping out with slabs the... Oh, actually, why don't we all pack up what we need and meet back here in 30 minutes so we can meet up with Slashina. Yeah. So after that, actually Holly suggested before bundling up in her own winter coat and getting ready to go back out in the storm to her own home and get a few last minute supplies for the trip. Will it include the last one of my pals is the question. The group... Okay. I don't think Sorrow's gonna come with us. That makes sense. The group dispersed at purpose. Lomlon... Oh, I lost points for this. Why did I lose points for this? The group dispersed at purpose. Lomlon gathered her familiar into her arms and headed upstairs, muttering about which herbs would be most useful. Slabs forward, give her curt nod, step back outside, presumably to check his own equipment. Sorrow gave Holly's sleeve before she could leave. Be careful up there, okay? Mountains can be predictable, especially magical ones. Hey, there we go. Sorrow would know a thing or two about magical mountains after having climbed Celeste. That makes sense to me. Wow, look at that. She managed a small smile. I'll stay here and keep everyone's spirits up. Maybe I can still organize some indoor caroling. Yeah, this version of Sorrow is a little more confident than the real-life one. The wind nearly tore the door from Holly's grasp as she stepped outside. The main street of Christmastown was transformed. Christmas lights swayed violently on their wires. Decorative wreaths tumbled down the sidewalk like tumbleweeds. Shop owners were frantically securing their displays. A small figure bundled in an oversized coat stumbled past one of the town's resident elves. His pointed ears poked out from under his hat. This is bad, he called over the wind. The reindeer at the stables are spooked. They can sense something wrong on the mountain. Holly's house was only 3 blocks away, but the journey felt longer in an intensifying storm. Snow was already piling in drifts against doorways. She really didn't know what she was going to gather for the journey. So Holly decided first to head to the reindeer stables for a quick visit with her favorite deer. She always had a few treats for the animals on her person, so she would spend some time petting and trying to calm them down before she went home. Honestly, she felt a little overwhelmed with the... No, you know what? We don't need to get that. We're just going to do actions. The game can tell the rest of the story. I'm mostly just trying to do actions and not character thoughts or feelings or things like that. The stables were a large rustic building on the edge of town, decorated year-round with the garlands and twinkling lights. Inside, the familiar smell of hay and warm animals greeted Holly, but the usual peaceful atmosphere was gone. Several reindeer paced nervously in their stalls, hooves clattering against the wooden floors. One young doe was making distressed sounds, her breath coming in visible puffs. Holly, thank goodness! Oh, that's a woman. Holly, thank goodness! The stable master, an elderly woman named Nora with silver hair and a braid, looked relieved. They've been like this for an hour. Even Comet won't settle, and he's usually the calmest of the bunch. Holly's favorite reindeer, a gentle buck named Evergreen, with distinctive white patch on his nose, immediately came to the stall door when he saw her. He nuzzled her hand, but his dark eyes were wide with anxiety. His ears kept swiveling toward the mountain, as if listening to something humans couldn't hear. Nora leaned against a wooden support beam. Animals always know when something's wrong with the natural order. Whatever's happening up on Frost Peak, it's got them terrified, even the magical ones. Evergreen accepted Holly's treat, but barely chewed it, too distracted by the howling wind outside. Holly stroked the deer's velvety muzzle and moved between stalls with carrots and other goodies for the animals. My friends and I are going up on Frost Peak to find the source of this storm and hopefully calm it down, she told Nora and the deer. Things will be back to normal soon. Just hang in there. She wasn't sure if the animals could understand, but she wanted to do what she could. After all, Holly was optimistic about her. After this trip, she decided she would head home and just to get a thermos of warm soup, another cozy winter scarf that her grandmother had made that year or last year, no, maybe not that. I'm actually mourning the loss of a grandmother this year, so it's kind of, weird to think all this. And her lucky something. Pin in the shape of her namesake. The others would come up with better supplies for mountain climbing. She was sure. This music is so nice. This is just a thing I found on YouTube that hopefully will get us through most of this. Evergreen pressed his forehead against Holly's shoulders as if trying to transfer some message through the touch. The other reindeer seemed to calm slightly with her presence, though their ears still twitched nervously. Nora watched Holly move between the stalls with a knowing expression. You've always had a way with them. Your grandmother did too. She pulled her shawl tighter. She used to tell stories about Frost Peak, said there was a guardian spirit up there who kept the balance of winter in these mountains, kept it from being too harsh or too mild. The old woman moved to a cabinet and pulled out a small silver bell and a leather cord. Take this. It belonged to your grandmother. She said it was blessed by the first Christmas in Christmastown. Might not do much, but she pressed it to Holly's palm. Feels right for you to have it tonight. Outside, the wind. Oh yes, the wind momentarily died down, cresting, creating an eerie silence before roaring back with new fury. Evergreen stamped his hoof 3 times, an old signal that reindeer used when Santa was approaching, though it was far too early for that. The stable door creaked open and Wordsmith stepped in, shaking snow from his coat. Holly, Sashina just pulled up to the inn. That truck of hers is impressive. Yeah, Wordsmith is my last pal. Yeah, okay. Holly rushed over and hugged Wordsmith. It was nice to see her Scottish pal who had come all this way for the festival. It was also nice to hear that Slashina had arrived earlier than expected, but she could always count on her sis to have a powerful muscle vehicle ready to go. I'm just going to run home real quick and then... Actually, do we just take the bell? Oh, you know what? Holly thanked Nora for the bell, putting it in her pocket. And then, then. She decided she probably already had everything she needed for the journey. Well, maybe I shouldn't waste any time then. We're heading... Lamlan, Slabs, and I are heading up the mountain to go calm the frost spirit or whatever is causing this storm, she explained. Wordsmith's eyes widened with concern, but he nodded firmly. Then you'll need someone to document this properly and maybe provide some moral support. He adjusted his glasses. Snow still melting in his hair. Oh, Wordsmith doesn't have glasses, but whatever. Besides, I've dealt with supernatural entities before. Demons are chattier than you'd think once you get them talking. The two of them hurried back through the increasingly hostile weather. The town square was nearly deserted now, with only a few hardy souls still attempting to secure decorations. A massive inflatable snowman had broken free at its moorings and was tumbling down the street. When they reached the inn, Slashina's custom Kenworth was impossible to miss. The semi-truck was matte black with crimson accents. Colors she did herself, obviously. And instead of regular tires, it had been fitted with enormous tracked wheels designed for extreme terrain. The engine rumbled like a sleeping dragon. Slashina herself stood beside it, looking entirely unbothered by the storm, in her leather jacket. Her dark hair, nah, man. We are gonna fix this, because I don't want it... I didn't describe what these people look like. Yeah, her pink and blue hair whipped around her face as she grinned at Holly's approach. Nice night for a rescue mission. I brought chains, emergency flares, and enough horsepower to drive through a brick wall if needed. She gestured to the trailer. Plenty of room in the cab for your crew. Let's, for our crew. Yeah. I don't usually like to do this, but I want to get the AI on the right track here. We are all pals after all. Holly was grateful to Wordsmith / Ina and the others for their offers to help with this journey. She didn't know what to expect when they departed up the mountain, but she was excited to try to do what she could for the people of Christmastown. Nice truck. We'll load up the rest of the gear the innkeeper is loaning us and then hit the road. But Holly wasn't sure even this mighty beast of a vehicle could get them all the way up Frost Peak Mountain. But she was willing to try. But she knew Slashina would take them as far as she could. Okay, this is good. Slashina popped up in the trailer to reveal a surprisingly organized interior. Emergency supplies, climbing equipment far superior to what Gus had offered, and even a small heating station. I came prepared. Being Empress has its perks. Unlimited shopping budget for apocalypse gear. She winked. Lomlon emerged from the inn with her familiar tucked into her coat and several pouches clinking at her belt. I've got potions for days, literally. Some of these will keep us warm enough to survive a warning. Okay, we're gonna... yeah. That's good enough. Okay. We'll live with that. I was thinking about leaving this off here for today, but we're going to keep going. We're only 10 points in to save Christmas. I'm going to keep going a little farther. I'm having a blast with this. This is doing exactly what I was hoping. I'll have to check my points limit to make sure we have enough to get through it, because this is going to use up most of my points for the month. It's kind of my plan. Holly was glad to have some experienced and prepared friends. Looks like we've got what we need then. She said cheerfully before mounting up and getting in the cab of the truck. She felt the weight of the silver bell in the pocket of her large coat and wondered, not for the first time, what they might find up there on the mountain tonight. This might be a good place to leave off. I just want to see what it does. The cab of the Kenworth was surprisingly spacious and warm, with custom leather seats and state-of-the-art console controls. Celestina settled into the driver's seat and practiced ease while Holly took the passenger side with Lomlon, Wordsmith, and Slabs 4 squeezing the extended cab behind them. Celestina revved the engine and the whole vehicle thrummed with power. All right, Frost Peak Mountain, let's see what you got and see what you've got. The truck pulled away from the end, its massive tracks gripping the snow-covered road with ease. Several townspeople had gathered despite the weather, watching the departure with hopeful expressions. The Round-Town man and bells gave them a thumbs up. As they left the town limits, the storm intensified dramatically. Visibly dropped to almost nothing. Celestina navigated with confidence, following the winding mountain road. Slabs 4 helmet display flickered. Thermal imaging shows the temperature dropping fast. We're at -15 and falling. Through the swirling snow, a dark silhouette of Frost Peak loomed ahead, its peak lost in angry clouds. The wind didn't just howl anymore, it almost seemed to be forming words, though none were quite clear enough to understand. Lomlon's familiar mewed nervously from inside her coat. Okay, I am going to leave this off here. I feel like this is a story that could use multiple parts, and this is a good first part. We got started. I'm going to try to finish this up tomorrow. And, yeah, stay tuned to see what happens to our intrepid heroes as we go up Frost Peak Mountain to save Christmas.